Do you think like you see more diversity in masculinity amongst your generation? Because I'll say from my vantage point, like when I look up at Gen X and when I look up at the boomers, like I see a little bit of diversity, but not really. If I'm honest, like I don't see a lot of diversity as far as how masculinity is expressed versus when I start looking down, when I look at other millennials, and especially when I look at Gen Z or Gen Zers coming up, like I think I see from my vantage point anyway, you might have a different one, but from my vantage point, I
Mhm.
see more of an openness, I think, to a masculinity that isn't as rigid as it used to be in previous
Yeah.
generations.
So here's what I'll say about that. So I do agree. I agree that Gen Z is a lot more open. We're just more challenging narratives that we've come to believe. But I would just say like we're more
Mhm.
like our sense of masculinity is more like very it's like kind of like insecure because I feel like our masculinity is like we're so worried about what other people are perceiving us to be, especially because we're kind of, we're expressing ourselves through social media. So we're so worried about our peers saying something about our identity. At the same, another thing, you know, now that there's people are more open to different identities, whether it be gay or bisexual, people might label like what I experience like too often. People like label me as gay because of just my personality and how I express myself. So it's just there's like two sides where, men are more, I would say, afraid of being authentic because they're so like hyper focused on like the social rejection or through social media.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I think that's my experience.
Yeah. I mean, I'm always intrigued by stuff like this, like like different the way that different generations have an influence on the culture around them. And so like, right now the boomers are thriving, like they're all retiring. My own parents, like my dad's retiring soon. So like I'm
Yeah.
starting to see a shift of like boomers are now starting to retire if they haven't already. And like gradually will not be in leadership anymore in the years to come. Like there'll be a shift, excuse me, there'll be a shift down to Gen Xers and millennials kind of by and large setting the table, setting the tone, and both in like policy, like legislatively with policy, but then also just in the culture and like what are the standards? What are the standards for how men operate in this world? And I'm
Yeah.
hopeful that it's going to get better. Like maybe I'm
I think
idealistic,
so.
but my hope is that like as rigid ways go, like that there is more flexibility to be a man and that it's okay. You can be sensitive and you can talk about your feelings. And that's actually not feminine. I mean, it could be feminine in a binary sense, but it's like very actually amazing and courageous to talk about your feelings if you're a man or if you're a woman, and to be able to have that, especially with other men too.
Yeah, I think it yeah, I think kind of we're kind of pushing forward where we're recognizing some, harmful narratives that kind of actually hurt men. Like for my generation, I think what I think is like gym culture is like people
Hmm.
are heavily influenced by that. They think they need to look a certain way to be a man, and that's influenced by, what they see on social media and what they see other people like at the gym trying to achieve something, but that, they haven't realized that their own body can actually achieve that. So that's kind of what I see. I don't go to the gym, and so I don't know, but I've just seen like friends that like have compared themselves to what they see on TikTok and what
Hmm.
they see with men on TikToks. I think that's a thing. I think my generation, like you said, is definitely a lot more open to different expressions of masculinity and just challenging that. I think we're just so like self-conscious of doing that, but hopefully that does change. I think it will.